What is existentialism? Individualism? The philosophy of now? Google describes existentialism as a philosophical theory that shows a person's existence as a free and responsible agent who determines their development through acts of their own doing. But this definition is only scratching the surface of what existentialism has to offer. One of the best examples of existentialism in literature is The Stranger by Albert Camus. The Stranger is a book about our main character, Marceau. Marceau doesn't care about the things that would normally make people happy, things like marriage or loss. For example, at his mother's funeral, Marceau doesn't show any sadness in a setting where a person would normally be holding back tears. Another example could be when Marceau's neighbor, Salamano, loses his dog who he has a very big emotional connection to. Marceau thinks, oh, well, you can just get another dog. But Salamano explains that it's not that simple, and this dog was the last thing that his wife gave him before she passed away. All these examples paint Marceau as a character who might have a hard time showing empathy towards others. This can show that Marceau is quite alienated from other people and their emotions. Speaking of which, throughout The Stranger we see Marceau go through different forms of existentialism, but one of the most prevalent is alienation. There are 4 different types of alienation, the different types being alienation from self, species being, activity, and other people. Let's go over these one at a time. There are a lot of examples of alienation from self in The Stranger, one of the most important for the plot being when Marceau kills the Arab. Alienation from self is alienation from one's emotion. During the part where Marceau kills the Arab, his emotions take over him because he doesn't know how to control them, leading to him doing something drastic like killing another human being. For alienation from activity, or alienation from the process of labor, when Marceau's boss offers him a promotion at his work and an opportunity to move to Paris, Marceau denies the promotion. His boss is initially surprised and angry at Marceau for denying this promotion. Marceau explains that he doesn't feel like uprooting his life just to move somewhere. As for alienation from species, the only time that he feels good about himself or happy or free throughout the entire book is when he's about to be executed. Along with this, throughout the entire book, Marceau just disobeys multiple normalities set up by society. To circle back to the points that I made earlier, Marceau shows little interest in other people. One instance of that being Marie, a girl who's actually in love with Marceau. When Marie asks Marceau to marry her, he responds saying that he doesn't really love her, so why should he marry her? Although later on in the novel, Marceau said that he'd marry her, even though he doesn't find any value in doing it. This is alienation because Marceau doesn't really care about Marie. He just sees no reason to refuse Marie's offer. This is strange, for as something that's so important like marriage, Marceau just seems to not really have a care for it. There's one final example of existentialism that I want to talk about that's probably the most prevalent throughout The Stranger. That being...
Nihilists, man.
Huh?
Nihilism is the idea that life is meaningless, but it's not as sad or depressing as that idea may sound. If we, as a living organism, are only going to be on this planet for such a short time, maybe 80 or 90 years, then why would anything that we do matter in a universe that's going to be here for billions of years? After we die, people are going to keep living on the Earth, and the cycle will continue until the eventual death of the universe, but that's besides the point. Marceau shows nihilism because he is indifferent to the things that happen around him because he knows that none of it matters. For example, in Part 1, Chapter 3, Raymond, one of Marceau's friends, thought this girl was cheating on him, so he beat her and she left him. His idea is to write a letter and ask her to come back and then spit in her face, but Raymond lacks any positive emotion, so he asks Marceau to write it for him. Even though what Raymond is doing is objectively horrible, Marceau doesn't show any emotions towards it, but he agrees to it. This leads to a snowball effect, which we all know is Marceau killing the Arab. When Marceau is actually in court for killing the Arab, he doesn't show any remorse for his actions. Even when the prosecutor asks him about the murder, he shows no defense for himself. This is a good example of nihilism because there are thousands of people around the world who die every day. Why should Marceau feel sorry about something that's going to happen anyway? This whole project can't just be about The Stranger. There are loads of other examples in media that people consume every day. One of those examples being from a small British TV show that you might have heard before. That episode being 15 Million Merits from 2011. In this episode, Bing Madison, played by Daniel Q, was 6 years before starring in Get Out, by the way, lives in a futuristic society that has gotten a bit too reliant on technology. People can only make money by riding on electric bikes or being on game shows. I don't want to spoil the episode, but just to give some context for this clip, Bing meets this girl Abby Khan, who has a great singing voice. During lunch, Bing tries to convince Abby to go on the game show Hot Shot, which is this universe's version of America's Got Talent, complete with Simon Cowell and everything.
Yes, I'm a choir.
Did you eat them?
During this scene, Finn gives a great speech about how none of the stuff that he's ever gonna buy will matter.
What do you spend on you then?
I'm gonna buy what? Some new shoes for my double to wear.
Buy one of those wall buddies. The new ones they talk to you after shutting and solve your problems.
Yeah, a mirror plug-in that shows me how I look as a werewolf. What's the point?
No, it can be quite fun.
It's all just stuff. It's stuff. It's confetti. You've got something real.
It's a shocking reality that's coming to fruition all too soon, with the rise of overpriced commodities that people can't stop themselves from throwing money at. This is a good example of nihilism because Bing knows that all of the things that people can buy now aren't worth anything. I can't help it but mention Breaking Bad at least once during this project. By the way, spoilers for Breaking Bad. So if you don't want any spoilers, then just cover your ears. I don't know. Jesse Pinkman is one of the saddest characters throughout Breaking Bad. Throughout the plot, he has his heart broken hundreds of times by his partner, Walter White. For example, after final spoiler warning, by the way, Walt watches Jane pass away. Jesse starts to blame himself for her passing, sending him down a path of sadness and depression. The thing that he cared about most had been stripped from him. In Season 3, Episode 6, Sunset, Walt and Jesse have a run-in with Hank, Walter White's DEA brother-in-law.
This is my own private domicile and I will not be harassed!
To get out of the situation, Walt calls Hank, telling him that his wife, Marie, had just been in a car accident and that he has to get to the hospital now. But it was all a lie. The payoff for this interaction is next episode, 1 minute, in which a frustrated Hank goes to Jesse's house and beats him up. When Walter White goes to visit Jesse explains how everything in his life has gone downhill ever since he met Walt.
I am not turning down the money. I am turning down you. You get it? Ever since I met you, everything I have ever cared about is gone. Dead ever since I hooked up with the great Heisenberg. I have never been more alone. I have nothing. No one. All right, it's all gone. Get it?
The scene has plenty of great examples of alienation, with Jesse feeling more alone even though he has millions of dollars to his name. And I mean, there is a pretty good amount of merit to that statement. I mean, think of it this way. One of his best friends, Combo, passed away, and so did his girlfriend. He's pretty much separated from his parents, and his addiction is hitting him hard. Well, he's still clean during this part of the season, but it does come back. His whole arc is just hard to watch. This scene is the climax of 2.5 seasons worth of build-up. Along with the great acting, this just makes this scene one of the best throughout the entire show. There is a connection between The Stranger, 15 Million Merits, and Breaking Bad. They are all great pieces of media, even though they are all different in terms of the style of media that they are. One being a book, a 60-minute anthology episode, and one being a full-on TV show. The through line of all three of these is that they contain great amounts of existentialism within their writing. One of the best ways to give characters depth and layers in stories is by giving them a good amount of existentialism. To conclude, if you ever want to try writing or creating a story, use existentialism in your writing, as this can help show characters' motivations, their reasoning, and why they do the things that they do. Alright, that's it. I'm finally done with this video. Oh wait, I forgot to mention absurdism. Watch Aqua Team Hunger Force.
TTing all over this bun for about 7 days now.
Fine! We'll all quit together, all right? At the count of 7. How many fingers would that be, Meatwad?
Well, let's see now.
5 plus 2?
Maybe.
Show me. Prove your theory.
I think. Wait a minute. You trying to get inside my head? That ain't happening. I'm freezing you out, Jack. See, check this out.
No, Meatwad.
La 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 la.
You are disqualified.